Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm very appreciative to everyone who left a comment and engaged with me on my last video. I'm not sure what I'm calling this question and answer series here on the channel, but I'm glad that you guys came through for the first video. You really talked about how you felt. And I'm surprised that so many of you agreed with my sentiments, and which is rare. I mean, that's not. I'm lying. People, even though some people have opposing feelings to mine. There are lots of people who agree and can expand on how I feel about certain subjects. It just feels like the ones who don't agree are louder for some reason. So I feel like in my mind that happens more often, but it's not the case actually. So we're going to continue this series, and the question for the day of the day is A Boss and a Babe a better series than Enchante? Now, before we answer that question, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. If you want extra content like extra reactions to Korean, Thai, Japanese dramas, they're all on my Patreon page, linked below. Also, if you want to help the channel even further, you can shop my apparel, linked below for your convenience. Okay, so to answer the question, is A Boss and a Babe a better series than Enchante? For me, personally, I feel like the short answer would be yes. I think if I would compare both shows narratively, well, there's a reason why I like A Boss and a Babe a scotch more than Enchante. However, the long answer to the question is no. I think A Boss and a Babe is just as bad as Enchante, in my personal opinion. It's not any way, shape, or form a good series, but I feel like one reason edges it out A Boss and a Babe over Enchante. Okay, so let's get into it. So let's start off with the characters. I think that for me is the one that kind of makes one a little bit more enjoyable than the other, but not by much. We have Tio and Ak versus Gun and Cher. Now, I do feel like Gun and Cher are the more likable leads, main characters, than Ak and Tio. And the reason being that you Ak was more so he to me he's the most likable one out of the two, but he was much of a pushover. He kept allowing this boy to disrespect him on the regular basis. He lost his job because of his boy. He got in trouble at school because of his boy. In the end, this guy lied to get him to like him and try to see if he liked him. He did all that and still Ak stayed with him. And there was one moment where he was really frustrated. It was when Tio cussed him out about him saying like, "Oh, these guys are using you, and and whatnot. You should probably pump the brakes on this Enchante thing." And he cussed him out and kicked him out and everything. And he was rightfully upset because he was just being a good friend. He didn't say anything wild. He said the obvious, honestly. And to have him basically go back and apologize. I know his sister encouraged him, which she was wrong for that, to tell him to go apologize to that boy, even though he was in the wrong. It was really weird. Like, why would you tell your brother to apologize to his boy who disrespected him? Your brother did nothing wrong, but he has to go apologize to him to make things right, to make things smooth over. That was so odd to me. But I'm upset that Ak did not stand for himself a bit more and kind of pump the brakes on all that, because that was wild. And he ended up being with him. And then when Theo cussed him out again because he didn't tell him that his parents were divorced, and he just let him talk to him in kind of way, and even allowed him to make him think that he's dating his friend from France. Like, it was just, I just wish Ak had more of a stance on boundaries, because Theo crossed the boundaries several times. Now, in Theo's case, his character, he more or less was a jerky brat from the beginning to the end. No real character change. When they became boyfriends, he was a bit nicer, but overall, he was lying the whole time. He was being a brat the whole time. in my opinion, really insufferable. An insufferable main lead. Like I did not find him likable at any point in the story. And it was very weird because he seemed like someone who wanted to be better than he was before. Like he didn't want to be a nepo baby and didn't want people to treat him differently because he's, you know, the dean's son. But he acted like that the whole time, so it was really weird. I remember early on when he was like he didn't want special treatment with the parking, but no one outside of knows that. So he got upset at the parking guy for trying to give him special treatment, but he held up the line by doing so. Like you're being a brat and causing inconveniences to everyone, but that's what you don't want to do. You want to like be out of the spotlight, but you're causing all this commotion. Right. It's getting weird. It doesn't make any sense. So I didn't really like the characters and the main leads in Enchante. Now I do find the leads in Boss and the Babe way more likable, way more likable. Well, I want to say way more because I do feel that way, but I found Cher to be annoying, so it's not by too much. Okay, Cher was annoying and Gunn was boring, but they were nicer people, or they had more of a they felt more fleshed out than the first two, in my opinion, or they weren't just one note and they just because I feel like I don't know, because I'm trying to think if each pair do they have a character arc, a character growth. I don't know if I saw that in either show. I think because how bubbly Cher was and how enamored Gunn seemed, they seemed more likable than the other two, but they still weren't really compelling individuals, in my opinion. But I do prefer those two over Akatillo any day. And that's the only reason I feel like my short answer would be yes, it's better than Enchante for that simple reason. However, let's get into the narrative, which is the real, reason for someone to dislike a show. What is the storyline? Is it paced out well? Is it consistent? Is there world building? Is there character growth? Is there plot progression? In this category, I would say Enchante would be the better option because it actually has a premise. It actually has a narrative to say. A Boss and a Babe does not. A Boss and a Babe, the plot happens to the characters. It's not even the plot happens to the characters. There's seeds of plots, like I said before in my previous videos about A Boss and a Babe, that doesn't get any type of progression. Mostly what A Boss and a Babe does is this thing where they have the characters like hang out and be around each other, and they kind of make you think a narrative is happening by having long scenes that wrap around them just hanging out. A prime example was the scene where Cher came into the office late, and that HR lady that we never seen before, and probably not, I don't think we even saw again, was like, "Oh, you're late. No, 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 no. I'm gonna report you to the boss." And he was like, "No, no, miss. I was sick. Cough, cough, cough." It was this whole little bit about him being sick, and like she was like, "Mm." And then Gunn came in and said, "Come to my office," and then they end up cuddling on the couch, and I was like, "So we spent all that time doing all that for what? We didn't learn anything. It didn't world build. It didn't serve any purpose other than just to give us a fan service moment." And Boss and the Babe had several scenes like that. Multiple buckling up him in the seatbelt thing, multiple bring him coffee, having like these like conversations, and that amounted to nothing essentially. Which is why I had such a frustration watching A Boss and a Babe, and that's why I couldn't comprehend everyone's love for the show. I remember one of my YouTube peers said that A Boss and a Babe is a great show because you can turn your brain off to watch it. And that is true because there's nothing happening at any given time. Any type of plot or like situation, there's no sense of urgency. Like you see what happens like with the brother-in-law character or even Drake's character. It's brought up and it's kind of like tension, but then they don't touch base on it any more than that one time in that one episode, and then they may skip it the following episode until they bring it back again, and that may not be until the end. So we get a lot of fluff and filler that doesn't amount to much, and then any type of interesting plot points are not really handled well. They just kind of lay there because they want it to last a bit longer, I guess. I don't know. And then you have, and then you have what you call the gay boys, the Cher's friends who are a couple. They also are used to fill the plot, to fill the time in the episode. Because I'm like, we sat here several scenes with these isolated characters, not interacting with anyone else, and clearly I understand it's just fan service to see a gay couple already together, being cutesy, being there for each other, but the circumstances around every time, all those scenes were amounted to nothing. The show didn't tell us that, or showed us that they had like some type of competition that Cher and Jack were neglecting, but we got a verbal exposition of that, and then he's upset, talks to his man, he's upset again, talks to his man, and then he's over it, talks to Jack, and he's over it. I'm like, I don't. What was the point of bringing all that up if we're not going to have them interact with our other characters really, or have the show showcase them doing this, and then showing us that they are neglecting their friends because of work. Maybe have a gun be like a tyrant boss for real and make them overwork, and have them neglect their personal lives. Like, you could have did so many things to make the show more interesting and compelling and simple. Because what I just said is a simple premise, having the boss be a tyrant, him changing his way because he has a manic pixie dream girl type relationship with Cher. Like, you could have did all these things, all these tropes to make a coherent story, but we decided to not for some reason. I don't. This director was just not. I don't like this director's work at all. I don't like none of his shows. So there's nothing he could have done differently. Especially when you get like halfway through to make me even like the show at that point. I just was checked out. I was like, you're going to do the same thing. You're not going to do. And then, don't get me started. Episode what, 9? Episode 9. My God, was like pulling teeth. They done break up, make up, kind of like 5 times in that one episode. There's one scene where they were like sitting by outside somewhere. It took forever. I don't know if you guys saw my reaction. I think you saw my reaction. I was just like, damn, we're still here. We're still not. It was the most frustrating. It was an episode where Cher took the fall for that girl. That girl, what's her name? She came out the end. Like, she came out of nowhere and was automatically a relevant character out of nowhere. And he took the fall for her. And Gunn cussed him out. It was that episode. I was like, oh my gosh. You've got to be kidding me. It was insane how much time this show wasted doing nothing. How much underdeveloped characters, underdeveloped plot threads this show implemented. It was mind-boggling. And yes, sure, you may think it's a positive to turn your brain off, or it's like a lighthearted show, or there's nothing really to pay attention to. But that's, to sit here 45 minutes for 12 episodes is wild, guys. I can't with this show. And I'm not saying that Enchante is any better. Don't get me wrong. I just think since Enchante had an actual plot that we were kind of looking forward to, I think with Enchante is that it most of the plot was kind of convoluted, underdeveloped. Sometimes we will spend episodes not progressing. Like, the goal was to find Enchante, and we spent a lot of time not doing that. And then we had these backstories with the boys that we knew weren't Enchante, and we knew, and the problem is with both of these shows, and I guess Boys Loves in general, we know they're going to end up with a person. So having their relationship threatened at any given time, it's weird to me. And I know that it happens a lot in these shows. Like, the relationship, it has like, you have like a love triangle, or something happens and they might break up, or something happens might prevent them to get together in the first place. But it's like, that's going to happen. Can we have some other external forces at play? And I know jealousy and like love triangles, those are popular tropes. It just, when they implement in these shows, the plot is those tropes. And it's like, well, there's not much to gain from this, because you're not spending time. You're spending time with this love triangle. Will they, won't they? You're doing all that rather than maybe having narratives that have to do with their own personal journey, their goals in life, their family. Like, the great example is My High School President. Our main character had a goal in mind. He had something he wanted to reach towards. Each episode, he did things to go to that goal, and during that time, falling in love. You know what I mean? You see and that show was very simple, very slice of lifey, but it had a consistent pacing. They what they did was they had a problem in each episode for the characters to solve. It was an easy way to tell a story and also develop the bond with the characters. And we learned so much about the characters through their actions, what they're doing. They drove the plot forward. They reacted to things that happened to them. Enchante, not so much. A Boss and a Babe, not so much. It's just, it's hard for me, especially after watching, Star in My Mind, Sky in Your Heart, those two shows where it also was no real plot, and whatever like conflict they had, they just kept that going. The non-communication, miscommunication to cause tension, they kept doing that, and like filler content that added nothing, they kept doing that. Watching shows back to back to back that have that kind of narrative and kind of like flow to it is very, very, very frustrating. Very, very frustrating. And to me, it makes the show bad. You know what I mean? And I understand seeing Cher and Gunn as more likable characters, so you think this show was way better. But if you gotta take off the rose-colored glasses and look at the material. You know what I mean? And I understand you probably don't care about a show having no plot, or a show not being consistent with the plot and have a better pace. You may not care. You just want to see the boys flirt and be together. I just think that's something that you just have to say. Like, that's what I like. And, but don't say the show was good. Because someone outside of being enamored with boys' love is not going to feel like the show is good. If you would show someone who's never watched these type of shows, they're going to be like, what? They're going to be bored. They're going to be confused. They're not going to see why you like it. This show is not going to be. This show is not great in any shape of the word. Like, it's not at all. And I just feel like it is just as bad as Enchante. I think that it's unfortunate that what's his name? Forrest and Book have to have two back-to-back shows, in my opinion, that just did them a disservice. And I'm thinking, like, why couldn't they done Never Let Me Go or something? Like, I don't know. Like, they need something different. They need something better. They need a different director. I know they're going to be in OnlyFriends. That seems like it's going to be a lit time, hopefully. So I'm looking forward to what they can do with that, because I don't think these guys are bad actors. They actually are doing a really good job, especially in Boston Bay. I think the acting is a bit better. I just feel like the shows they've been doing have not catered to their strengths. You know what I mean? I feel like, and I guess they don't really have to. Their fan base has been growing, especially since Boston the Babe. So they don't really like GMTV can put them in a show by that same director and do a similar thing again. It's probably going to be a hit, and fans are probably going to like it. They have no incentive to like have a better story structure, have better writing and directing. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't. They don't have to. They can just rely on the source material, which is they're adapting. Adapting a novel or manga, wherever the case may be. They rely on that, and then the actors. So they really don't need to like really hone in on not relying on the tropes so much and not relying on the star power so much, which is unfortunate. But yeah, that's my thoughts. That's how I feel. I don't think A Boss and a Babe is a better show. It's just as bad as Enchante. Now, let me know your thoughts below on this subject. I'm sure you guys will. I know everyone usually I've seen really like A Boss and a Babe and probably won't agree with me, but let me know. I don't mind you not agreeing with me. I just let me know why you like A Boss and a Babe over Enchante, or vice versa, or why you like them both, if you do. I'm really curious to see your point of view on why you feel like it's such a great show. Or maybe you don't think it's a great show, but you still enjoy it, because there's plenty of shows I like that I think are awful. and I still like them. But yeah, let me know your thoughts below. Please present me with another question, something we can talk about. And I will see you guys next time.